All right, looks like we are live. Happy New Year! Welcome to Prosperity Mapping. I'm Melanie McCool, and I'm super excited for what we're going to map out here in the next hour or so. This is my untraditional goal setting session, and I'm going to share with you the ways that I had to learn to set goals to get the subconscious mind to really stay on board with this, completely different way of doing life in business, which was to grow my business without ever burning out again. So thanks for joining us. And please let me know where you're coming from and where did you learn about prosperity mapping? All right. And so with that, know that I'm going to be running this in a very, kind of an informal fashion. My goal is to tell you the ways that we have found to be most beneficial, efficacious, and to give you some insight into my own goals and how they've evolved over the years to give you, hope that even if you are overwhelmed, stressed out, totally feeling burned out at this point, even finding it difficult to plug into another goal setting session, feeling totally jaded, right? That you would really go, oh, okay. If I can learn to think in new ways, then my life can change. Yes, that's absolutely true. That's exactly what's going on here. So I'd love to welcome you to Prosperity Mapping. This is an untraditional goal setting session. And I'm your host. I'm Melanie McCool. I'm the entrepreneur's hypnotherapist and peak performance coach. I'm also a certified master trainer of hypnosis and founder of Program for Prosperity. And in this session, I'm going to reveal to you the ways that you can get your subconscious mind on board with your goals so that you can actually see that life that you dream of come to fruition, so that the goals that you set are met, and in a way that ensures that your path, right, to that 6-7 figures is a healthy, happy one. So I am going to be running this in a kind of informal fashion here. I have a PDF for you. And this isn't to use as a worksheet. This is an outline to follow as I go through this untraditional goal setting session. And so if you would like that PDF, just comment below that you'd like it. If you're on our email list, then you would have gotten that PDF as an invite to this event. And if you're not on our email list, well, why not? When you ask for the PDF, we'll make sure you are so that you can join me for more of these events. Now, in a sense, what I'm going to be doing here is giving you a kind of behind the scenes look at what I do, what I did, the things that I changed, right? To change my experience from one of, what looked like success, where my life was actually really out of balance, and I burned out completely, and to one where my business grows and I've incorporated the habits that ensure that I never burn out again. Now, I'm going to actually be sharing with you how my goals were set in 2018. Okay, because that's the year that I was really bouncing back from burnout. When I had been taken out of my career completely in 2017 by a stress disorder. So my burnout had essentially gotten so bad that I was taken out of my career. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Okay. So I'm going to share with you throughout this session what my goals were in 2018 so that you can see the progression that's available to you. So even if right now you feel like you're showing up here, maybe even kind of jaded, feeling a bit disconnected from that, that enthusiasm you started your business with and such, I can totally relate. And so I'm going to give you the picture. This is not a training on what to do. I'm not telling you what to do from theory. This is a training that is about what I've done and what I've helped my clients to do to help them to change their lives completely. And so what you'll find is throughout this workshop, you'll hear me allude to those foundations that I had to set for my life and my business. Those foundations that then became my 5-step method to accelerate business growth without burnout. And they are outlined for you in the Zero Burnout Business Growth Workshop. If you haven't been through that yet, I highly recommend you do. It's the best hour you're going to spend in your life. It can save your life and your business. So I really recommend you do that if you haven't already. But I'll tell you that everything rises and falls on this 5-step method. Okay. These pillars of how to consider everything that you're doing in your life and in your business, they're going to show up everywhere in today's session. So understanding that what we're going to do here over the next hour or so is going to require you to stretch, to potentially, get a bit uncomfortable with the way things are. And sometimes it really does take a wake-up call for us to make the changes that can completely change your life. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to do something very different here in a bit. I'm going to ask you to set a goal that will require you to stretch and grow in the coming year. I'm a hypnotherapist. My goal is to make sure that you get the changes that you're asking for, right? So if you show up here, I'm not giving you some feel good session. I'm not going to give you some, I'm not making fun because I do have a vision board over there. Okay. But I'm not going to just tell you, do a vision board and sit and all will be well. That's not the way life works. But what I am going to do is I'm going to show you the real way, the neuroscience of success way to make sure that your subconscious mind is actually on board so that you can see what you consciously want actually show up in your world. People call this manifesting. I call it actualizing, meaning what I wanted inside is actually in my world and in yours, okay? So before we go to that beautiful aspirational goal that you have, let's look at how goals are typically set, right? So when you sit down and you're creating your goals, they are typically set. And this is the way I did them for, well, almost 20 years before I learned a new way and developed a way that I'm going to be sharing with you today. And that is that I would be focused on problem solving. Okay. And meaning this is what's going on in my world and this has to change. Therefore, it was, what we call now, I call now an away from goal. Meaning I'm moving away from this pain, right? And that was the kind of goal list, which would be things like people would typically say, lose weight, get out of debt, stop fighting, get rid of insomnia. Okay, so I'm giving you a kind of glossed over, just upper level kind of big problem thing, right? But the point of this is that when you create a goal like that, it ensures that you have what we call unconscious resistance to what needs to be done. Okay, so if your goal includes the pain point, then it automatically is like putting a foot on the brakes. Your subconscious mind moves you away from pain and towards pleasure. And so if your goals, as they are set now, include any form of moving away from, well, first of all, what you focus on expands. So if you're focusing on getting rid of debt, guess what? Your subconscious mind doesn't even understand what a negative is. It doesn't understand no, don't, no more, quit. What might understand quit, but doesn't understand the negatives, right? And so if you're saying, for example, no debt, your mind only hears debt. If I say no pen, what happens? You can't even get no pen until you have a pen. Your subconscious mind doesn't understand a negative. And so therefore, when you're focused on the problem, what you get expands. And that problem has negative emotional charge to it. It creates a negative biochemistry in your body, the biochemistry of stress. Right there. So, and when you have stress, it's like a big foot on the brake in your life. And when you have going on in your life, when you've got your conscious mind, your goals, right? And you're doing all the work, you're investing in yourself, you're taking the classes, the courses, got the certifications, the licenses, you're ready to rock and roll in life. Man, you're mastering your craft, maybe, if you're on it. And you got all this conscious desire and effort. And then at the same time, you've got these negative feelings and energy around your goals. You got a foot on the brake, a foot on the gas at the same time. What does that do to an engine? I'll tell you what, it's a recipe for burnout. That's your engine burning out, just like those tires, right? So listen, you may have a long list of problems to solve. That's fine. I understand. We are adults and we are problem solving machines. Hopefully you're in problem solving mode versus anxiety. It's like another conversation. And that's fine. But we've got to turn those kinds of goals around. And if you stick with me to the end, I'm going to tell you how we can work together to actually turn those goals from away from goals to towards goals, and what a magical difference that'll make in your life. But for now, we're going to jump right into this untraditional goal setting session, and we're going to create a new map. It's a prosperous map, right? A prosperous map for the upcoming year. Now, we're going to set this just one today, one big umbrella goal for the coming year. All right. And this is a type of goal that your logical brain may balk at, right? But you got to know it's also not completely impossible, right? If you've not made six figures, then saying 7 or 8 figures might be a bit much or not. But let's definitely set a revenue goal that it feels like a stretch. It's not just based on what you've done before, okay? Because if you just think logically, I should be able to grow by whatever percent, money doesn't grow in the way that plants do and we do, okay? Money is not a biological phenomenon. It is not related to time in the way that biological things are, okay? So we have this attachment to time, and that it should take a certain amount of time for things to happen. And that makes sense, if you were a farmer, or if you're thinking about manifesting a baby. Well, you can't just manifest a baby. It actually takes 9 months for that child to grow, right? Before you hold it in your arm. But money isn't like that, and your business isn't like that. And I'd like for you to just right now, just let that sink in for a moment. That money does not have to follow some linear progression in the way that we think about things that are biologically based. Now, your mind growing into the mind that it takes to create that 6 or 7 figures, that does take some time. It's not a question, because we are actually creating new neural pathways in the brain. But that doesn't take all that long either. And if you got some windfall, you might be able to figure out how to be smart enough, how to have the skills and the knowledge in order to make it work for you, right? If business were to come to you in a tidal wave, then you might be able to figure out what to do with it if you had the right kind of mentorship, right? Because we all know what happens when people like win a lottery. You know the stats. They usually, it's all gone before they knew it. Maybe they're even worse off than they were before because they didn't have the help. Yeah, mindset's everything, peeps. All right. So let's get to this goal. So this goal, I want you to set a goal for the coming year, a number for revenue. Okay. And super important, how many hours a week you'll work to bring that in. Okay. So it's a revenue goal and how many hours a week you'll work to bring it in. And this is, within 365 days, you've got this time frame in order to continually march towards this goal. We're setting the GPS right now. Okay. Now, why the hours per week? Well, I'll tell you, because your subconscious mind is always working to protect you. And if you just said some big, hairy, audacious goal and it scared the heck out of you, there's a part of your mind that's thinking, oh my God, I'm just about dead right now. Maybe not. But seriously, if you're stressed out, overwhelmed right now, which is, I'm here to help you to bounce back from burnout, not create more of it. And you say you want to make twice as much as you did, then your mind doesn't know anything right now other than work more to create that money. So you automatically have a protection mechanism that goes in place and it says, foot on the brake, no way, no how, because your mind, your subconscious doesn't want you to overwork. It'll take you out of your career like it did me, okay? And others. Zero Burnout Business Growth Workshop. Learn how to avoid burnout before it's too late, okay? So just setting some big, hairy, scary goal is actually a recipe for burnout if you don't include the number of hours that you're willing to work for it. So that whatever hours you're working now, you want to decrease the number of hours that you're working and make more money. What? That's what we get to grow into. That's right. Grow into. This is exactly what I did in 2018. Okay, so got it? The amount and the hours. Otherwise, you're going to have that anxiety, the fear of overworking in the mix. And that's what we call unconscious resistance. Next, we want an overarching statement that describes the problem that you'll be paid to solve. Listen, if you're here, I assume you're an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs solve problems. If you're not an entrepreneur and you're listening to me, then a lot of this is going to be a great bit of education, but you've got to first find a problem that you're going to solve. I am not the sprinkling fairy dust money fairy, okay? This is not a sit and grow rich lesson. I am not saying listen to my hypnosis sessions and money's going to magically fall from the sky for you. Nope. I just said, what is the problem you'll be paid to solve? And I'll give you some insight, okay? Because back in 2018, when I first was doing this, I knew that I was paid to solve the problems of anxiety, depression, insomnia, the inner critic, procrastination, etc., those kinds of things. Now that evolved, but at the time I was totally lit up to do that kind of work, right? Incredibly excited and proud of this toolbox that I found worked to charm to help people through problems that for me seemed so incredibly difficult when I was dealing with them. Right? So, but I was there and I said, this is a problem I'm going to solve. And my aspirational goal was to have a 6-figure hypnotherapy practice in 2018. And that was set and met. Okay. I did have a number of hours I was willing to work to do that, number of clients. I broke it down to everything because I really had to tell my mind that I would never overwork again or I would literally have anxiety picking up the phone to take a client that wanted to pay me. Okay. You've got to have these things in place. You want to have a year where you make more money with less work. You got to let your mind know that you're going to protect yourself. You're the only one that can let your mind know that you're here to protect yourself from overworking ever again. All right. So that was 2018. Things have changed. Lots of things have changed. My goals have changed. But I'll tell you that for my upcoming goal, I strike a chord of solving problems in 3 ways, right? So first, I solve the problem of limiting mindset, right? So as a hypnotherapist, I help people to get rid of unconscious resistance to success. They are able to, get rid of self-sabotage so they're able to grow their business without burnout. All right. So first and foremost, I'm working in the magic of the mind, that deep subconscious change work. 2, as a certified master trainer of hypnosis, I also provide my students with the core competencies of the most effective deep change work that they can do with their coaching clients so they can better serve their clients, right? And I also provide the guidance on how to use sales and marketing expertly and ethically to grow a business. So I serve in these ways. This is how I've set the goal of what the revenue goal is, how many hours I'm willing to work for it, and these are the problems that I solve. And so I ask and drop it and let me know, what problem do you solve? What problem do you solve? Get really clear on it. Connect with it. Then I'm going to ask a question. Does it light you up? Does it really light you up? Is there a fire in your belly, an enthusiasm, something that even it literally like drags you out of bed because you're so darn fulfilled by this, or fulfilled by the idea of this if you haven't had that wild success yet. Right? And if not, well, I'll say you might have some deeper work to do. I have a 7-week, or excuse me, I have a 10 module course. And interestingly, around module 7 is when people typically kind of like have this shakedown. They're like, oh my gosh. And if they weren't already aligned with their soul's work, somewhere around there, they're like, oh my gosh, I think that what I've been doing all this time is just what somebody told me to do or what I thought I should do. It's not what I really want to do. It's not my soul's work. No wonder I burned out trying to do it, right? There's really no internal fire, no motivator for it. I've just been pushing and working towards this goal. So that unconscious resistance, right? Remember that. That's going to pop up if you're doing a business that you aren't really aligned with. And, I'm just going to drop this in here because I always say, you don't want to just burn everything to the ground either. Sometimes we can find a way for you to be aligned with your purpose and your soul's desire while you're, keeping things running with what you have, as long as we can decrease the, resistance to it, the unconscious resistance, so that you aren't burning out with that old way. So I'll say that if you're right now, you're kind of thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, I'm not really aligned with my soul's work. Well, I'm going to say that you may want to find yourself in the Prosperity Lounge, where we can do some work around that. Now let's assume that you have set that aspirational goal and that you have some alignment with it, right? That you feel some fulfillment from your work, right? Understanding that for any outcome you want, there is a certain way of thinking and acting that will get that for you. And you just need to find it and adopt it, bring it into your life, right? That you may need to make some changes. If you've got an aspirational goal, it by definition means that you're probably going to need to make some changes in what you believe, changes in your honoring your values, changes in developing your habits, and probably even developing your skills and knowledge, right? If you've got an aspirational goal, that means you're growing. You can't just grow your income without really looking at the things we're about to talk about now. Okay? So I'll tell you, it all comes down to these really key ways that we look at the world. And the difference between a successful entrepreneur and one who doesn't succeed really has everything to do with the way they think about themselves, right, and their abilities. And those who will adopt the idea that growth mindset is the key, is the only way, are the ones that will grow. You can give somebody, the same business plan, and one will become a multimillionaire and the other doesn't. And ultimately, it has everything to do with being totally committed to your own growth. So let's look at some of the inner work that's required in order for you to have that aspirational goal, right? And when we look at the inner work, that's going to help you to create a better business externally, right? So if we look at the inner work, and for those of you who've been through my workshop, you'll recognize that this lines right up with step 2, right? Let's look at the beliefs that you've got to have in order to have the aspirational goal that you just wrote down, right? And if you take a few moments, you can evaluate your current beliefs. And you can hear the little inner naysayer, the inner critic, the future forecaster of doom, the monkey mind going to work, right? Telling you all the reasons it won't work or why, you're not good enough for it or whatever the heck it's trying to say, right? You can just get real with them for a moment. I think it's important because those are the beliefs you're going to need to shift and change. This work that you get to do cannot happen without you actually shifting those. I started with this because, my friend, if your mindset isn't right, you've just got a foot on the brake. And you could set that aspirational goal all day, all night. And you might find yourself in the same place year after year because your subconscious runs the show. So first we look at our beliefs. And you do want to consider that you can adopt the beliefs of others who are successful. Okay. So back in 2018, I had to totally reevaluate my beliefs about, well, what success even looks like in my industry, for a woman, for me, on planet Earth, right? And I recognized that I had kind of, just like everybody else, I had this, these limiting beliefs about myself, my place in the world as it related to money, success, happiness, love, all the things had limits. The outer world had created, a view that I saw myself within the world, just like everybody else. You can think of this as your underlying programming. And I also recognized that was exactly what had gotten me to burnout completely, to a stress disorder that not only took me out of my career, but took my health and essentially did take my mind for a time. And so when I went back, when I rose from the ashes, essentially in 2018, and I knew I was going to go back into working in what I knew to be my life's purpose, I had to create new rules for life, rules for my life, rules that would ensure that I could create that. In 2018, it was that six-figure practice without ever overworking, right? And so I did that. And I had to bolster those beliefs because I had all of the, um, the evidence for the old beliefs, I had lots of it, but I hadn't yet created the evidence of the new beliefs. I had to adopt others' beliefs. And that's what you may need to do at this point. Do you think that everybody in your industry or in the way in your world works this way, and you can't do it a different way? That's wrong. Straight up wrong. So that was 2018. And now I'm aligning my beliefs. I'm still doing the same thing because I've got to see through somebody else's eyes, right? Who has a different perspective, somebody who's already helped 22 people earn $1 million, right? And I can trust that I can scale my business with peace. Scale my business in peace to help more entrepreneurs to find true freedom without any of us ever burning out, right? So aligning your beliefs with a different reality, because your beliefs are a self-fulfilling prophecy. What you believe is what you see. Okay, because your underlying beliefs, your thoughts, and just knowing this consciously, my friend, I wish I could tell you that was enough. But I think that hopefully you've been in my world enough to understand that these beliefs at the subconscious level are the most important to change. So getting your beliefs in line, super important. The second thing you want to consider, based on what you've now said that you aspire to, are your values. And some might say values are first, but before you have a belief, you can't even start to think about what your values might be around your business. But take some time and consider what your current values are. Do some research to evaluate, see what other successful people state as their core values and which ones make sense for you, for your business, right? You can adopt those values. You can figure out how your actions can line up with those values, perhaps in ways in the past that they didn't, right? And I'll tell you that my core values, what I value, they haven't really shifted much since I started in 2018. So first, and I think of values in actually two ways. You got core values and then what you value, right? So when I hear this, we're like, oh my gosh, this is like so integral to my life. Like my rules for life, for business, is like the more fun I have, the more money I make. So what I value is super important. And if you're not having fun, if I'm not having fun, then I'm not living, let alone I'm not doing my business right. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right. So core values are, the ways that you see yourself and the way that you want everyone who comes into contact with you and your business to literally feel that there's a congruence between what you say and who you are and what you do. Like your character just exudes these things, right? And so my core values have been, creating quality experience and service for my clients, utmost integrity, transparency, and authenticity. And if at any level I feel that I'm wavering from those, I can feel that I'm not in alignment with the flow, with the path for my business to really to continue to grow. And that's what I find for my clients too. So really aligning with what are your core values in that. I even have a saying, your authenticity lies in your prosperity lies in your authenticity. Because it's true. If you're off, if you're off there, then it's like if you're running that business that isn't really in line with your soul's goals, well, that's maybe one of the reasons why your prosperity is not there. All right. And then what you value. Now, this is super important. And you can tell I kind of get lit up about this. This is actually step 3 of my 5-step method, is to embody prosperity, right? So consider what you value. As you're looking out at the next year, we're here in a business goal setting session, and I'm about to tell you this stuff better come first or you're on a road to burnout. So what do you value? And I've got a list: fun, healthy living, cooking, time in nature, gardening, music, drum and dance, friends, healthy romantic relationships, and a healthy sex life. Boom. There's lots more things, but those are like top of list, top of mind. And so if that comes first, my calendar is down there. My calendar, the first thing that goes on my calendar involve these areas of my life. And then my business goes after. And that's something to consider for next year, for this upcoming year, right? How can you make sure that what you value is wrapped up in your goals for the year? All right. So we talked about beliefs, values, and then we're going to talk about a bit of another mindset piece, which is focus. Because what you focus on expands. What you focus on, that's where your energy goes, right? So what I'm going to invite you to do is learn to notice how you currently focus your mind, right? Are you focused on what you want or on what you want to avoid? And this goes back to, how did you set the goals initially? Were they problem focused? Is it things that you want to avoid, or are you focused on what you want? What do you pay attention to, and what do you filter out? The monkey mind, that constant internal chatter, will give you good insight into what you focus on, and you're not even consciously focused on it, are you? And the kind of intrusive junk that will come in because it wasn't filtered out. The news story, the fearful, the gloom and doom, right? All of that comes in. What do you pay attention to? What do you filter out? And I want you to consider that you're going to want to learn how those who are successful at what you do, or how those who are successful, how do they focus? And well, I certainly focus on what I want. This is a key to how this works. And I have very specific actions that I do to continually reset my focus. Your mind, if you don't direct it, will play the same 80,000 or so thoughts every single day. And most of them are negative, right? So if you aren't doing the reprogramming and resetting, then you're going to end up back where you were. And that's that underlying programming. If you look around your life, it's telling you exactly what you've got going on in the program, because it essentially creates your world. What you're thinking about creates the way you feel. The way you feel creates action or inaction. Those are your habits, which create your life. So if you don't like what you see all around you, then you're really going to want to focus your mind. And I'll tell you that the most potent ways are with self-hypnosis, listening to guided hypnosis, or even some guided meditations. Certain journaling practices, which are really meant to work at the subconscious level very powerfully. And so these things are far more effective than a ton of thinking. Okay. You'll get far more out of this with less thinking than you ever will with that worrying thinker. If right now you're stressed and overwhelmed, and you're wondering how much longer I'm going to be talking because you just right. Then it's probably because you could use some space in between the words in your head. And that's going to make a huge difference in your life. Okay. Now, having said that, there are also things that I do specifically to focus, which would be like daily journaling, action planning every week, what we call date night questions, right? So the things that are, making sure that the GPS in the mind is set and continually going in the direction that I set it, because otherwise it'll go off on its own thinking weird tangent. It doesn't necessarily understand what my goals are unless I tell it, right? Okay, so far we've set an aspirational goal and we've looked at what you need to do to accomplish that in terms of beliefs, values, and focus. And now what I want you to consider is that in order to make money, you've got to be willing to develop the skills, knowledge, ideas, come up with the ideas, or the talent that's going to make what you do more valuable. And to do something with those skills, knowledge, ideas, and talent that benefits others. And understanding that in every business, no matter what business you're in, there's 6 core pillars that we've got to continually pay attention to. And if you're an entrepreneur, then these 6 pillars, a solopreneur, they probably fall on you. And when I started in 2018, they totally did all of these, right? So consider that these 6 things, you've got opportunities for growth in each of these 6 areas. Again, that aspirational goal that you set is not so far off. If you commit to growth in these areas and get really honest with yourself about how you need to grow in these areas. So the 6 areas: marketing, sales, operations, delivery or client success, right? Finance and mindset. A mindset should be first because none of the rest of the stuff's going to work, but that's the way it's mapped out here. And so as you go forward, consider which of these areas that you could really use to focus your attention on immediately. What are the areas that feel like they're lacking? Because otherwise you're really just like using hopium, right? It's a drug called hopium for that aspirational goal. But if you've really committed to growth in those 6 areas, oh my gosh, anything's possible, right? So when I looked at that list in 2018, it was really all on me. And I looked and I developed and I continued to change and grow my skills and knowledge in every one of those areas. I mean, I think I have like 9 hypnotherapy certifications at this point. So my skills and my ability to serve others, I have improved over time. Plus marketing, sales, operations, grown my team, delivery, all of it, right? Now when I look at the list, I ask myself, who has the knowledge and skills to do this with excellence within MindWorks, right? And my job is to further develop the mindset of a CEO, right? And that evolution is available to all who will step into the role. And that includes mindset of leadership, right? And you won't get there if you aren't considering all of this when you're setting your goals for the coming year. It's just the way the world works, my friend. You can't solve a problem from the same level of mind that created it. You've got to be growth oriented. And I believe if you're here, it's because you are growth oriented. And I totally am going to say that you've got to seek the help of those who've been diligent in this work for years, right? And diligent in the work of growing in personal and professional development, for more than 20 years. But even more importantly, because you can find you can find business mentors who will teach you the old ways. I think right now it's super important that we find mentors, right? Who have the kind of balance that we desire. That is of utmost importance, because if you ever want to grow a business without burnout, you've got to learn the key aspects that you're going to learn from somebody who's, well, been there, done that, and now helping other people to do the same. Because you want to know how to create a business that thrives without ever overworking or sacrificing what you love. Am I right? Right? So I would add, because this word peak performance, sometimes it's misunderstood. I will add that that has nothing to do with go, go, go. And nothing to do with pushing, forcing, hustle, grind, do more. You get it? It has everything to do with, well, using the neuroscience of success. And what we have found completely to be the case across all genius, let's just say that, across all genius, right, is that a single moment during meditation or self-hypnosis, a single moment in that space can be far more effective than any doing moment. Okay, so that is key. And if you haven't gotten to that understanding yet, then I'm going to ask you to really slow down for a moment and consider that the goals that you have, the aspirational goal that you wrote, is actually small when you tap in to that level of genius. And I would love to teach you that. Utmost importance. All right. So untraditional goal setting. This is untraditional goal setting because I'm asking you to consider your goals in every area of what makes you you, not just, let's set some quarterly, monthly, and weekly goals, though I do. Okay. I set them with specific language that means our subconscious mind can stay on board with them. And if you'd like to attend a session like that, then you've got to be with me in the Prosperity Lounge, because we're going to set those quarterly and monthly goals. The weekly you can handle on your own, right? You'll bring those to the lounge. But the things that you will focus on, right? So the things that you'll learn to focus on, and in taking that aspirational goal and bringing it to fruition, the things that you're going to have to learn to focus on and learn ways that are proven effective, efficient, to help you to not only, it's not just about staying on track and staying motivated and productive. It's about on track, motivated, and productive while you feel good, right? Actually enjoying the journey, not feeling like it's work. In fact, I've reclaimed the word work. Work is glorious. It's wonderful. It's not, because we've changed the way we look at things. And so the things we look at change. That's Wayne Dwyer, right? Yeah. So what we will be looking at is how you're going to manage your time, the types of personal qualities of being that you're going to bring into each and every day, into your encounters with potential clients, into your marketing, into your hiring team, if that's where you're at, all of it. We're going to talk about how to develop persistence, right? And how you handle adversity. How to have this feeling of such a burning desire, there's no way you'd quit. There's a famous quote. It's you've got to stay in business long enough to get lucky. And that has everything to do with staying the course and staying in the game. And that's what we're going to learn how to do, right? I would also argue that excellence is and that's in the word quality, that's in my values. So excellence is something that you want to commit to. Excellence in everything that you do. So in every way that you deliver in your business, whether it's clients or the product, whatever it is, going that extra mile, right? And considering how you're going to make decisions. Trust your gut. That's step 4 in my 5-step method. Making decisions. And if right now, I'm just going to pause for a moment, because if right now you're in that state of burnout where your mind, when you really don't trust your gut, you really don't, you find it hard to make decisions, you feel like, a sense of fear in making the wrong decision a lot of the time, I understand. Some of this stuff, it's going to take time in actually applying the 5-step method over time to heal your brain, heal your body, heal your trust with yourself. And it might even be that all of that's got to happen before you get to the point where you're like, okay, now I know what skills I need to develop. I need to grow in this knowledge, these skills, right? It might take you a moment to get back to self before you get to do that. And that's fine. Because from there, my friend, is where we grow. That's where you're going to learn to take the specific actions that lead to the habits that will change your life. And remember, the thoughts that you got running through your mind, they create how you feel. The way you feel creates your action or inaction. Those habits of action and inaction create a life. So if we together work to get your beliefs self-supporting, positive, uplifted, enthusiastic, your biochemistry, the way you feel, is going to be a foot on the gas, right? You got dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins running through your body, right? Foot on the gas leads to habits of action towards your goals, my friend. That's exactly the goal. And we can do that together every step of the way. This is the road to success. It's never been easier, except that it is the road less traveled. It's the one that seems really odd. We're weird enough as entrepreneurs, right? We're the we're like the 3% of the population, right? Very different from other people. That's already weird. And here I'm telling you to be an entrepreneur that doesn't ascribe to hustle grind culture. Instead, I'm giving you the neuroscience of success, the 5-step method to accelerate your business growth and peak performance, feeling great every step of the way, right? Yeah. Super awesome and super odd in this world, which is why you may want to link arms with me and my team, because otherwise, just hearing this information, I wish consciously it was enough. We got to work at the level of subconscious. If you haven't guessed yet, I am going to be inviting you in to the lounge. But first, you've got to make a decision to enjoy the journey, enjoy the work. So if you've got to change your beliefs, you stick to your values, consider how you focus your mind, develop the habits, right? Actually taking the action to develop what needs to be developed in the 6 areas of your business, right? Make that decision to do so. And if you make that decision, and you also should make the decision to get the support, because otherwise you've got a conscious direction, but ultimately having the unconscious on board with you and the hypno coach's accountability to help you is going to help you to develop those habits so that a year from now, your life can look extremely different than it does right now. Extremely different. So you're going to have to make the decision to make the necessary changes, right? To acquire the skills, take the actions. And it is an ongoing process. It usually would take years and years, but we've seemed to find a way to speed that up significantly. This is my promise to my clients, actually, is that you would receive more in the next 6 months than you would in years, or if ever, I'll say. If ever. How long have you had this aspirational goal? Right. All right, so here's the secret. The secret with all of this, with all of that, it seems like a lot, and it is a lot, but it's actually, it seems like fun, because the secret is to enjoy the journey, right? To enjoy the journey and to have a totally burning desire for the result. When you do, then this all becomes much easier. You've got to ensure that your journey to 6, 7 figures or beyond is a healthy, happy one. And you can do that. You can do that in the Prosperity Lounge. You can do that with the help of a hypnotherapist and peak performance coach. You can do that with the help of my hypno coaches, right? Yeah. So since 2020, I have been working in the Prosperity Lounge with entrepreneurs. And essentially, I have been helping them to implement my 5-step method to accelerate business growth without burnout. And this is my invitation to you, right? And simply book a call with me. We'll explore how we can help you, to implement everything that you've discovered today. And I am so committed to your success that I'm going to make the promise that I make to every one of my clients internally, is that I promise that if you decide, we won't leave you the same, that you will find that you will receive more over the next 6 months than you would over years, or if ever. And I sincerely cannot wait to see your progress. But wait, this week, I have a special bonus for those who do book a call, right? And this is what I call the 6 steps to succeed at anything. All right. So, and these 6 steps, they will help you to succeed at everything, at anything rather. This isn't magic, not magic. You do have to make the goal happen through your own efforts, but you want to make sure that you have these 6 steps, don't you? Right? So we'll be meeting in the Prosperity Lounge to discuss those 6 steps to succeed at anything. And I invite you to join us. When you book a call this week, I'll make sure that you get access to that bonus. All right. So with that, my goodness, I have managed to wrap this up within the hour. I'm going to close this down, take a little break, and then I'm going to come back. So if you've got questions for me, please make sure that you've dropped them in the comments. And if you needed the PDF, the outline that will help you to work with this in your journal, let me know. Oh, I have, hold on. Did I say that I'd like for you to work with this in your journal? So I wanted to show you a little insight into the way that I've used the magic of pen and paper for years. It's super important because some of my clients, they tell me that before they come to the lounge, that they don't journal. It's one of the most important things. In fact, I think it is one of the most powerful claiming of self-esteem and acknowledging that your life is worth creating. I believe your life is worth creating, and pen and paper is critical to that. So let me just show you. I'm just going to give you some insight into how I do mine. First of all, I just started this one because I ran through the work, right? So that one. Before I did this with you, I'm telling you, I'm not working just from theory. I'm telling you what I do, what I've done, what my clients do to succeed. All right, so what I have is I have journals that I have. This one is essentially my personal journal. This is more of a diary. It's what's happened, my feelings about it, how, what I'm hoping to experience next. Then I have this one. I actually think of as my manifesting journal, because This is where I scribe and where I describe my future and my future self. In here, I have my La Luna journal, and this one is I work through certain processes every new moon and every full moon. The moon is a beautiful accountability partner. Thank you, La Luna. This is a very worn, what I call my production journal. And I'm going to give this to you when you join us in the lounge. There's a very special formula for this. My goodness, this has been responsible for me earning millions. That's not an exaggeration. This process right here. And then I have my marketing. This was last year's. My marketing journal, all my ideas, what I'm planning, the reverse engineering the income goal, all that good stuff. And then I got my journals for the different coaches and masterminds that I have invested in myself to be with. Yeah. Coaches get coaching. Important. So if you need the PDF, then please do ask me for it so that you can then use the PDF, but then work in your journal and you can start a brand new one. Start a brand new one. Claim your life. Create your life. You deserve it. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap up. And I'm going to say, I so look forward to seeing your progress. All right. I'm Melanie McCool, the entrepreneur's hypnotherapist and peak performance coach, certified master trainer of hypnosis, and creator of Program for Prosperity. And I want to see you in the Prosperity Lounge. All right. Book a call, get the details, and I'll see you inside. Mm-hmm.